What's going on, guys? Jason back in the basement. Today, I gotta stop saying What's up, y'all? Jason back in the basement again. Today, I want to talk about a new pickup. All right, I had a case of gas, gear acquisition syndrome, and I have embarked on a new journey. I wouldn't say it's a journey yet, but an experiment. Let's say an experiment. I've embarked on a new experiment. As you know, I've been primarily a Fuji shooter, which is APS-C, and I have a collection of Fuji cameras. I'm shooting on the XS10 as always. This is my vlog camera, right? My content creator camera. Then I have the X Pro 2, the XT2. Those are my two pro work cameras. So like this is my Hex Ranger bag. So when I'm out doing some jobs, that's the one I use. And then I got the XE3. It's kind of like my fun, day out camera. And then I previously, and I say previously because I just sold it, the XF10. Ultimately, I decided to part ways with it. I had a great year with it, did some good stuff with it, but I just couldn't connect with it. As much as I liked it, ultimately, I liked the results. The experience toward the result wasn't for me. They really just messed up with the autofocus. It fights, it fights you when you just want to get the shot. I've had so many cameras in my life, from the crappiest point and shoots to, the Fujis, and I've had full frame Canon cameras and just never experienced something like that before. I need a camera to kind of I got to vibe with a camera. All right. So I sold it off and started experimenting. So I always thought about the Micro Four Thirds system, right? It was something that intrigued me, but never pulled the trigger on anything. And, I never had a camera that really jumped at me to pay either a premium price or even a good used price. But something came up on eBay, and I was like, you know what? Since I'm selling the XF10, I'd have some funds to play with. I didn't need to pocket it. So I said, let me recycle it into something more useful. So the only thing missing, I wouldn't say I had anything missing, but if I was going to replace the XF10, I wanted something with that 28 millimeter equivalent 35 that was going to be smaller than the XE3. But what came up was the Panasonic GX1. It's an old Panasonic camera. I think this was released in 2015. I could be wrong, so don't quote me there. So I picked this up on eBay for a very good price, very good condition. And it's an interchangeable lens Micro Four Thirds camera, 16 megapixels. So again, I recently just got the Panasonic LX7, which is a much smaller sensor camera, but is a Panasonic, and it had a lot of the same kind of back dial features, and I vibed with that camera. I really vibe with the LX7, so that's a keeper. That's my small sensor, like fun camera, and this can be my slightly more serious, bigger Panasonic baby right there. So. I still had, after buying that, I still had funds to play with. And so I picked up two lenses. One of them is the Panasonic 35 to 100 f4 to 5.6. So if you know, I did have a hole in my game when it comes to my camera selection. And that is I didn't have until now a telephoto option that wasn't a fast prime. So I have the 50 f2 for Fuji, and I have the 85 1.8 from Viltrox for my Fuji system. And then I have my, 23 f2, 35 f2, 16 2.8, which I'm shooting with right now. That's my vlog camera. And so I had those, and I have the 27 2.8 pancake from Fuji. So I have all of that covered. I got wide angle and I got portrait, medium telephoto, but I didn't have a long telephoto. And I used to have the Fuji 18 to 135 lens, and that kind of covered my vacation long telephoto. But I ultimately didn't like it because the lens was still big. Like, my personal philosophy for photography is I want to be compact. I don't want to be shooting with big lenses. I don't want to carry big lenses, but I still want to be versatile. So that's why I've kind of chosen to go down the prime route in terms of my general photography, the wide angle prime between that 24 to 35, so 24, 28, 35, and even the 27 2.8, which will give me the 40 millimeter equivalent, works for me. Now, other than that, I still wanted to have that just in case long telephoto lens, and I was considering getting the Fuji 55 to 200, the 50 to 230, or the 70 to 300. And those again will get me back into those big lenses. And so I never really pulled the trigger because I didn't want to do that. So with that said, with the deal with getting the GX1, I was able to get this small 35 to 100 lens, which gives me a 70 to 200 millimeter equivalent. Now, granted, it's not a fast lens, but I didn't want a fast lens. I wasn't looking for anything fast. What I was really looking for was a bright daylight, outdoor, long telephoto. Because once I go indoors, I'm shooting, wide angle prime, right? So I have a second camera for that, which will be my Fuji XE3. And then when I want to have the second body with the long telephoto, that will now be the GX1. So that's where that lens comes into play. It really serves that purpose. Now, in my current kit, now I don't have a 28 millimeter equivalent. So the GX1 is an interchangeable lens body. So the second lens that I got was the Panasonic 14 millimeter 2.5 pancake lens. I don't have it with me yet. It's actually coming tomorrow. With that said, I'm going to do a test with both lenses, and I'll report back with findings. But yeah, I'm excited about that because that now gives me option that it fills that void that the XF10 left. It's not as small of a camera and it's not as pocketable, but I'm okay with that. I carry bags with me, now. So, small bag, throw this in, that's fine. If I'm not carrying any bag, then my phone's going to have to do. That's just how I look at it at this point, right? But I'm excited because the price, kind of worked everything out. Like, I had to pay a little bit extra for the second lens, but, with the price of the XF10 being sold, I was able to get these two babies, and have that long telephoto filled, and then also just, bite the bullet on the 14 millimeter 2.5 to give me that 28 millimeter equivalent. Oh, somebody's calling me. But, yeah, so I'm excited about that, and I will report back on my findings. I did test out the 35 to 100 so far, and I really like it. So far, the shots, the camera itself, like everything about it, I really liked. And I want to credit the LX7 for really opening the door to the Panasonic system for me, because it really has a very similar layout. And since I like the LX7 so much, I wouldn't have even considered the GX1 in the past. I don't even think I knew about this camera. But because it looked similar, I was like, you know what? And it's a bigger sensor, micro four thirds, my first micro four thirds camera, by the way. I said, you know what? I'm going to go with it. So I did, and so far I'm very happy with it. So that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you guys are any micro four thirds shooters out there. Let me know. Love to discuss what you think about it. I really think it's, from what I've seen from initial image quality, to me it's just as good as APS-C, provided you know where to keep your ISO. But yeah, that's all I got. So I'll talk to you guys in the next one, and see you then.